everyone. Thank you so much for coming through to participate and share the space with us this afternoon, evening, or morning, whatever time it is by your place. So my name is Annah Sango, and I'm the People Living with HIV Stigma Index Advocacy Officer. I'm working with GNP Plus. And we're so excited as GNP Plus to be part of the global campaign, which is Love Positive Women, which is an amazing campaign that was initially started by Jessica Whitbread from ICW. And it has been happening for the past years, whereby we're celebrating women living with HIV in their different diversities, appreciating women living with HIV and respecting women living with HIV, and doing little shows of concern for them. So it can be either to send them a Valentine card, it can even be just a simple message, it can be just in a I love you, you're strong, you're amazing kind of message. And also there has been workshops and dance parties that have been done as well to actually celebrate love within the month of love. After all, it's February. So I'm super excited to be part of this love chat. And I have an amazing, amazing, amazing young woman that I'm going to be having a very intimate and interesting discussion with today. So Saidy is from South Africa, and she's just amazing. I really love her bubbly smile. So great. So Saidy, I want you to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Anna. Hi, everybody. My name is Saidy Brown. I am from South Africa. I am a young person who's living with HIV. Well, I'm not so young anymore.
No worries, you can be as young as you want.
Thank you. Thank you. I am a young person living with HIV. I'm 25 years old. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. You know, the interesting part about being young is I think it's all about the soul. As long as your soul is young, that's okay. Don't worry about looks and the physical appearance. So we are all still very much young, trust me. So thank you so much, Sadie. And I'm so excited to like have you here and really have this discussion with you. I mean, just looking at also some of the work that you've done in essay, your open letters, your tweets, you know, you're really an amazing figure. And I felt like this is the person I need to be chatting with this month of love. So
Yeah.
I really want you to tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you've done, and like, who is Sadie? What drives Sadie? What is Sadie all about? You know?
Yeah. So Sadie is, as I mentioned, a young person who's living with HIV. I was born with the virus. I found out about my HIV status at the age of 14 at a school trip. It took me 4 years for me to properly accept my HIV status. So I only started publicly disclosing using Facebook at the age of 18.
Mhm.
Yeah, with my open letter. So I used to write a lot in my teenage years because I totally refused to go for counseling. I refused to speak to people. I was still quite angry at my family, and I just felt like no one could relate to me and I couldn't relate to them. So I resorted to writing my feelings down. That is how I ended up writing like great pieces like an open letter to HIV. I
Mhm.
have done quite some amazing and cool stuff. I have.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So I am an HIV activist, and I do
Mhm.
advocate for young people who are living with HIV.
Wow, that's like so interesting, you know. And what really kind of hit me was the issue around disclosure, like when you disclosed, and then how that was, and also that wave of emotion that you felt where you didn't want to speak to anyone about it. And I often see that around a lot of young people or adolescents who are living with HIV. And sometimes people kind of want to blame them for not being able to open up like that. But it's also an issue of like different emotions and different things that are happening to you and that you really can't explain. You want the best for yourself, but at the same time, you are in this zone where you just want to take in those emotions. So maybe, like, I don't know, when it comes to disclosure, like, what's the best way? How's the best way to disclose? Like, how does all that happen, and what implications does that have, even around you, family, school? Like, what how was that?
So for me, the only reason I started disclosing was honestly just for my own personal feeling. I just
Mm-hmm.
felt like if I started disclosing and just telling people and sharing this huge thing that I was keeping in my heart for so long, I just felt like if I speak out about it, maybe I'll start healing and things will be better. So that's exactly what I did. Of course, the journey hasn't always been this easy. I was met with
Oh,
a lot of people who were just like, "Are you looking for attention? What are you doing? What is this?" Also,
really?
I come from a place that's quite, yeah. Also, I come from a place that's quite remote and it's quite small, and people are not quite used to things like
Mm-hmm.
this. So they
Mm-hmm.
were quite resistant to this thing that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I still find people on Facebook who say I'm lying and I'm getting paid to lie about my
Okay.
HIV status.
Okay.
I'm just like, guys, where's the money? And also,
Really?
really, where's the money? And besides that, like, why would I use HIV of all the things that I could be using? Why would I just go for HIV and choose that to just lie, right? And I also had that thing of I hated just how much we were using HIV as this unspoken subject, whereas people
Mm,
were living with it, people were
mm-hmm.
dying from
Mm-hmm.
AIDS-related illnesses, but we were not saying anything about it, and I wanted
Mm-hmm.
that to change because I spent a lot of my teenage years feeling so alone and feeling like no one could relate to me, and I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
relate to them because I genuinely thought I was the only one here who was living with HIV. So
Mm-hmm.
I literally thought that I was the only one. I thought we were going to need to start applying for me to start
What?
getting ARVs. So I
Uh-huh.
literally, so when I saw how accessible they were, I was like, no, actually, people are living with HIV. We are just not saying anything about it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So I just decided to start speaking on it.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have like those guts to say it out and be able to even help other young people. And then at the same time, you are getting this certain level of backlash. Like, why is she doing this? Why? And I think it's really sad though, because sometimes as a young person, all you want to do is to be out there and be kind of a ray of hope to others as well, to actually say, I want to speak out about this thing that we're not talking about, that we're whispering about. I want people to know, because I know like young people need this information. So it's really funny how we have a society and communities that don't appreciate when someone really wants to be able to provide such information. I don't know, it's always baffling me. It's really always baffling me. But then again, also looking at you as a young person as well, the moment you decide to disclose, the moment you decide to put it out there, I mean, also when you live, it's not, you are not in an island. You have got relationships, you've got family, you've got, what then happens to that? Like, I know of scenarios where guys you have dated will come to you and they're like, oh, I didn't know this, and then things like that, and then you're wondering, like, so how does one go about that, with the issue of disclosure? How do you then manage all that attention, and how do you manage the relationships that you have?
So personally, what I did was that I started speaking first to my family,
Mm,
right? So
yeah.
they were quite supportive, they were quite accepting of my HIV status, although we kind of treated it like an open secret where we just knew, but no one was saying anything about it.
Hmm.
But at least they knew and they were not too hostile towards me. I also started speaking to my friends who were also quite amazing and also quite supportive. In terms of personal relationships, I have also not really experienced that much rejection. I will say that I have been rejected like once, and of course it broke my
Good
heart
for
because I'm
you.
human. Because I'm a human being. I will
I know,
cry and
right?
I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're leaving me for this? But
I
it
can
happened,
imagine.
and I think it also helped. Yeah, it also helped grow me, and it also helped me approach situations a bit better. I like
Hmm.
saying that it's not something that I deserved to go through. It's not
Hmm.
something that anyone has to go through. But get, I kind of get why it happened because with the kind of
Mm.
work that I, being so exposed to so many young people,
Hmm.
I used to be so naive in my thinking. Like young people would say, I'm scared of telling my boyfriend, I'm scared of telling my girlfriend. And I'll just feel like, just disclose. Because it was literally that easy for me. I just disclose and people would just say, okay, cool. So I met this one person who said, actually, nah, I'm scared of this.
I'm not
So
for that.
I think now I understand a bit better when people say, I'm scared of disclosing. Yeah.
Because it's the process, it's the journey, and it's
Yes.
I always say disclosure is not a one-time event. It's actually a process, and it's more like every day, even in your life, you actually experience different things, and new things start coming up just because of that. So it's really interesting that you actually mentioned that. But rejection is painful, like honestly said. I mean, like, yeah, just being told I'm not interested in you. No, 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 no. That's something. But I guess what, we're strong women, we're empowered, so definitely
Yes.
you need to sail through. You need to kind of like, maneuver and
Yeah.
get through. But then one thing I'm also realizing, like when we're talking, is just the issue of stigma and discrimination. It's there at all levels. I don't know, like every inch of your life there has to be a certain level of stigma or discrimination. Do you possibly have an incident where you really felt stigmatized just because you were a young woman, just because you were a young woman living with HIV, or just because you were a young empowered woman who was living with HIV?
I mean, people who are living with HIV, we are
Mm,
constantly being stigmatized, we are constantly
yeah.
being discriminated against. And
Mhm.
it's literally in the most subtle situations. Sometimes you just like,
Exactly.
what did you just say? And it literally links, it literally sinks in after a few minutes, like, oh,
Okay.
okay, okay. But HIV genuinely is that
Mhm,
virus. Unfortunately, it has always been that virus that was so rooted in stigma. And I do
mhm,
believe that it just has to do with the fact that it is so associated with sex. We tend to
mhm,
associate it so much with sex. And not just sex, but like you
mm.
have to be promiscuous. You have to be
To have
having
gotten
multiple
it.
partners. Yeah, when you say I'm Saidy and I was born with HIV, they're like, no, you lying. You
No.
got it from sleeping around. So it's just that that amount of stigma that is so associated with living with HIV, that really, really makes everything so much harder. It's so
Mhm,
difficult for us to say, actually, I am living with HIV. It doesn't need to change who I am because society constantly reminds us that there's something
mm.
completely wrong with you. In an argument about something as basic as whatever, someone will
Uh-huh.
just throw in that yeah, you're also on ARVs, you're living with HIV. So it's literally that stigma
Mm,
that is constantly just attached to just living with HIV.
mm.
And it's so unfair. It's so unfair. That is the reality of us as people who are living with HIV, as women who are
Yeah.
living with HIV. Being a black queer woman who's living with HIV is not easy at all because now you are literally
Not at all.
stigmatized in every
If,
aspect of your life. It's just like, oh
and
my
that's
goodness, when will
intersectional
I catch a
stigma.
break?
When do
When
I
will
get
I
a
catch a
break?
break?
All I want is a coffee or a glass of
Yeah.
wine, please. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. I totally hear you. And I think it's the story of every woman, just experiencing those levels of intersectional stigma, whereby either it's because you're a woman, because of your sexuality, because of your color, because of this. It always has to do with something. But for me, I feel like it's also an issue around the messaging as well. Like you're saying, HIV has always been associated with promiscuity. It has always been associated with, with one immoral act or the other, as defined by moralists. But then it's the messaging that needs to change in the everyday work that we do. It's the messaging, and I think that's why we have these amazing initiatives and campaigns like Love Positive Women that seek to celebrate the beauty of being a woman, being HIV positive, and being, professional, progressive, making money moves, you know. Exactly, because I think people often feel that, women living with HIV or young women living with HIV, they amount to nothing and things like that. But you have the best people living the best of their lives, which is why initiatives like this are so amazing, so that people can learn to understand and learn to appreciate and learn to look beyond a person's status. I always feel like a person needs to look beyond a person's status. It's
Yes.
only fair to be in touch with a person's persona, to be in touch with a person's character, to fall in love with that and to appreciate that.
Mm,
It's not about them because they are HIV positive, or always saying, oh, and then she's HIV positive, so what?
yeah.
Those
Yeah.
kind of things. But yeah, but it's really good to have like empowered, strong women such as yourself, who are young, who are really, taking that message out there with your like really beautiful, intimate, open letters, speaking to issues like that. But then, yeah, speaking of intimate, I just wanted to know, like, in terms of, young women living with HIV, most of them also, okay, why are you smiling? Don't worry. Most of them also face a lot of challenges with intimacy. Maybe once
Yeah.
they've tested HIV positive, they are no longer in touch with their bodies. They feel, rejected. Like you were talking about issues of rejection. They feel they cannot really appreciate the beauty in them, or the beautiful, slender, voluptuous, whatever, but they seem to not want to love themselves. Do you sometimes kind of like see such things?
I mean, in terms of stigma, we all know that there's the internal stigma and the external stigma, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is quite a personal subject, because I'm one person
Mm-mm.
who's really struggled with a lot of internalized stigma more than the external. Because as I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier on, I have quite a supportive family, I have quite supportive
Yeah.
friends, and even with my community, they have
Mm-hmm.
literally grown to be so supportive of me. So I used to struggle a lot with like the internalized stigma. I would literally feel like it was written here in my face that I was living with HIV. I had self-esteem issues. I just felt
Mm-hmm.
like HIV had completely tainted the person that I
Mm-hmm.
was. And it is those issues that really affect people who are living with HIV. I don't think we speak
Mm.
much, or we speak enough about
Exactly.
the link
Mm.
of HIV and like the mental health issues that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
women who are living with HIV go through. There's so many issues that contribute to how a person with HIV continues every day to just choose themselves and to just live their lives. There
Exactly.
are so many issues that they go through. So
Mm-hmm.
issues of internalized stigma are
Yeah.
issues that I'm very
Mm-hmm.
familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that in terms of the externalized stigma, I feel like with HIV, so many things are just rooted in stigma. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things are just rooted in stigma.
Exactly.
People will feel like we are scared of catching the virus from you when there
Mm.
are literally condoms, and like we are on treatment that literally makes our viral load suppressed. And I'm just like, you are just speaking from a point of stigma. You're not trying to educate yourself. And I
Mm.
think personally, I'm even at the point in my life where I just, like, in terms of my activism, I just feel like I'm way past the stage of trying to educate people, because I've been doing that since I was 18 years old. Right,
Mm-hmm.
right now I just need people to understand that we are living with HIV, and we are human beings, and we live, and we are amazing people, and it doesn't
Intimate
define
beings.
us. We are human being, and we are so much greater than this virus. And it's important that as a person, you tend to have to look beyond a person's HIV status, because you can't just now want to associate a person a person's complete
Yeah.
um nature or their complete life to just them being that girl who's living with HIV. It is so
Mm-hmm.
important that you
Mm-hmm.
look at people beyond their HIV statuses, and you just say, you know what, I can see you. I'm willing to get to know
Mm-hmm.
you besides
Mm-hmm.
you just with HIV. And I think that it is important as well for women who are living with HIV to practice that self-love, because I believe that we also kind of set the tone
Exactly.
in how
Yeah.
people treat us. So once you
Exactly.
love yourself, once you respect yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are a lot of people who would just come and speak to you like they don't
Yeah.
see you.
Like waste
They
your
have to
time. You're like,
understand.
move
Yeah,
on.
no, just move past me then. But it's important that we also
Yeah.
practice that level of self-love, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
just a point where we just like, listen, I am living with HIV. It doesn't change who I am. I don't need to convince you to love me. I need to convince you that I'm a better woman or I'm a better person beyond me just living with HIV. You are either going to love me for the human being that I am, or you will leave me alone. And that's just it.
Wow, drop mic. That's just like, Now I see why you are this amazing young person. No, definitely, you put it out there so clearly. I mean, it moved me. You know, a person needs to just look beyond the status. They need to look beyond your sexuality. They need to look beyond all these stigmatizing issues and everything, but be able to respect and accept a person just because, after all, they are a human being. And I really love the issue that, like, you mentioned around, addressing issues to do with self-stigma and not doing much around mental health, and really looking at the current situation whereby a lot is happening around us. COVID, everything, global economies, whatever, everything is just happening around us. And I feel at this particular point in time, women living with HIV, specifically young women living with HIV, really need to feel the love, from fellow peers, from their families, because it's just a lot. I don't know. How have you been managing, Saidy? I don't know. COVID, everything, work, school, family. How has it been going?
I have honestly just been winging it. Like I've been going from day to day since last year, March. I've just
Oh
been
my,
going from day
day
to
to
day,
day.
from month
Yeah.
to month, and we're here now. And I feel like in terms
Mm,
of mental health and just trying to cope during these crazy times is like all we just need to do for ourselves is just try to get through
mm,
today, and
exactly.
just keep on trying and trying and trying, because genuinely these are difficult times, and
Mm.
it's quite anxiety inducing to have to live through a literal pandemic, but
Yeah.
we just need to constantly choose ourselves and just try.
Yeah, and keep choosing ourselves. Yeah, that's a powerful statement, like choosing ourselves, being able to feed your soul and your mental health by being selfish. I was reading this statement which say, like, if you cannot be alone, you really cannot be with someone else, and I feel like it cuts across all kinds of relationships. If you cannot be in a position to love yourself, to be selfish enough to take time out for yourself, people out there will also not be able to value and respect you the way you want. And I think this is a message really that needs to resonate a lot, especially in this month of love in February, where we are really celebrating women living with HIV. I think it's an opportunity to look at the struggles, at what you've been through, but at the same time, emerging as a victor, being able to look at the lives that you've changed, the work that you've done, and how your life also evolves and changes as you impact other people. I don't know if you ever get that feeling, like every time you give a motivational talk, every time you have like a love chat, do you kind of feel like inspired, like something in you also kind of like ticks a box? Like, do you often get that as well as a young professional activist?
I mean, I do get those feelings of inspiration. I
Mhm.
do become quite happy at knowing that my work has made such an impact on other people's lives. I love the feedback. Whenever people give me feedback and they're like,
Like, oh,
"Listen, I was
stop
listening to
it.
you there,
Stop
and I was
it.
watching you there, and it's changed how I view myself." It
Uh-huh.
genuinely affirms me, and it just keeps on assuring me that what I'm doing is not in vain, and people understand these things. And I'm not saying that I will completely change everyone's life, but
Mhm.
if just one person keeps on saying thank you, that really really affirms me and makes me want to do more.
Yeah, true. Like it fuels you up, right? It just gives you that energy to keep doing what you're doing because someone out there is really appreciating. And I think that's also a very important thing as well, appreciating each other as women. We need to learn to, to throw in that nice remark, you're looking good, oh, I love your hair, by the way. How long have you had it?
I mean, I've had my hair for about 4 years now.
Oh, Oh my God, I need that as well. But but you see, you like glowing and looking all good. I think it's beautiful to appreciate each other, once in a while, because at the end of the day, we are all we have. Like, your support system, the people around you, So I think it's really important, yeah, that you like really highlighted how much that makes you feel. Because I feel there are so many young women living with HIV who are activists out there who sometimes maybe feel tired, running in the race, who sometimes feel like, but I'm not even getting the recognition, the appreciation that I need to be getting. But I just want to like take this opportunity to say, guys, you're amazing in everything that you're doing. That's amazing. Every moment that you stand up at a podium or wherever, you share an intimate part of your life, you share your story, you share your struggles. It's amazing. And you are growing an inch taller in terms of your self-esteem, right? You are growing, in terms of your development. You're also growing in terms of your engagement and interaction with people. It just lights up a candle in you. And I think we need to keep going and keep helping other young people out there, because as women, we represent diverse communities. Like I said, we're different in terms of sexuality, we're different, in terms of gender, we're different in terms of a lot of things. And it's really good, just to nudge them and say, you're doing amazing work standing up for lesbian women. You're doing an amazing work standing up for sex workers. You're doing an amazing work, standing up for trans women, and trans persons and communities. I think that's really important. Yeah, that's really important. So it's really good that you highlighted that. So in also just speaking about work and the stuff that amazing activists are doing, what's your take on some of the initiatives that are happening? I mean, like, we have things such as the stigma index as well, that looks at, um, stigma levels within communities. I don't know, what's your take on, the participation or engagement of different key groups of young women? How beneficial is that? Is there a certain level of impact, when it comes to participation?
I think those initiatives are quite important because the stats are there and it literally shows that women and children are at a greater risk of like infection and stuff. So it's important that all these initiatives keep on being created. And I like the fact that women living with HIV have literally created that safe space for themselves to just be within each other and just show each other love, because literally we are all we have. And if we don't show each other love, and if we don't support each other and be there for one another and try to empower one another, then who's going to do it for us? No one, because we are just women who are living with the IV. So it's important that we constantly try to build each other up and just, as you say, it's important that we keep on boosting each other up, just hyping each other up and just saying, you are beautiful, you are doing beautiful work. I see you, I support you. And honestly, we are all just sisters and we are all fighting for the same cause. It's not a competition. We are not competitors.
Exactly.
Yeah, the one thing that
We're
I completely love
complementing.
about, we completely love each other. We are all fighting for the same cause, and it's important that we just keep on coming together, supporting one another, and just saying, I support Anna's work because she is standing for women who are living with HIV, and you can also say, I support Sadie's work because she's also working towards trying to make spaces safer for women who are living with HIV.
Yeah, so that's really important, because I also feel like we as communities, as women, as people in general, we have a certain responsibility that we have when it comes to initiatives that also address certain issues, like I was saying with, situations such as the stigma index study. It's something that is for people living with HIV, led by people living with HIV, and which really is an important aspect, because it's like people living with HIV are really taking on the reins and they are really
Yeah.
going out there, to try and identify particular issues that, they feel need to be addressed because they impact on service provision, they impact on their lives,
Yeah.
they impact on a lot of things. So I totally agree with you with saying it's good to create those platforms that are there for that engagement, where people living with HIV are really leading the process. And I'm even much
Yes.
happier when it's women living with HIV who are really taking the forefront,
Yeah.
being there, being present, and being part of the process. Because it's not only about being statistics, but it's
Mhm.
also about driving the process. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and it's also important that these platforms and these initiatives are created by us as people who are living with HIV. Nothing should be done for us without us in
Without
the we need to be involved, include us, involve us, ask for our opinions, try to involve us in some way. I mean, I get that there are people who say, but we care and we are also affected, but it's important that these things come from people who are living with HIV. They come from women who are living with HIV, because if you're not a woman who's living with HIV, how are you then saying you're going to speak for us without even trying to involve us in whatever it is that you're trying to do? So
Mhm,
just
mhm.
include us and understand that as activists, we are more than just our stories. That's another thing. We are
Exactly,
more than just our
exactly.
stories. We do have, you know,
Mhm,
we genuinely have a lot to contribute to
mhm.
people who are living with HIV. And yeah, don't just call us when you want a story. Like, ask us, ask
Exactly,
questions, ask the
exactly.
relevant questions, and
You
we'll definitely show
true.
up. Yeah,
True, you actually can professionally contribute to certain processes, and provide ideas and really drive certain agendas. It's not
yeah,
only about where you're coming from, what you've gone through, but it's about using that as more of a tool, as really a tool that can really take you to the next level in your
yeah,
life, which is very important. And I think it's really important for a lot of young women to really know and understand that it's not only about the sympathy of people when they hear your story, but it's about how you grow out of that, how you manage to survive that, because the very ability to be able to speak about it means you've overcome that hurdle. So I think it's important to really, it's really important to know that, and also for people to know that it's not only about the stories, so that people do not exploit um women living with HIV, because I feel like there's certain levels of exploitation that happen a lot when
yes,
it comes to young people.
yes.
You're like, yes, 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 yes. No, please go ahead. In enlighten us. Yeah, but definitely I hear you. I hear you. There's a lot of exploitation that happens. And I think part of being empowered is also being able to know that, right?
Yeah,
How to address that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you've seen that in communities.
yeah, I have seen that. I mean, as you're saying, there has been exploitation of women who are living with HIV, and
Mm-hmm,
it's important. Part of loving women who are living
mm-hmm.
with HIV
Yes.
also means that you get to empower them, you get to
Mm-hmm.
grow them, you get to elevate
Take
their
part.
lives in some
Mm-hmm,
way. You can't just say, "Oh, we love you, we support you because you're a woman living with HIV," and then you just leave them to
mm-hmm,
suffer on their own. And I'm not saying spoon feed us, but I'm saying give us opportunities that will also help empower us and just change our lives, because we are all just trying to completely change our lives and better ourselves. And it's
mm-hmm.
honestly part of loving women who are living with HIV is common sense.
Exactly, exactly. I agree with you,
Yes,
Sadie. And I also feel like we need to add safeguard as well, because
yes,
part of empowering them is also, creating environments where, young women living with HIV can feel safe at the end of the day. So I think that's really important. Part of supporting, part of empowering, and it also goes on to even the issues around mentorship as well. It's important to have that pool of support, even from older women that have run the race before you or something like that. It's really important to always tap into their wisdom, tap into their knowledge, tap
Yeah.
into their experiences, into their growth, and really put it, in line with what you're going through. Because I totally understand that sometimes it may have been a different era. I mean, like, look at when HIV was first, AIDS was first discovered. It may have been a different era. There were no cell phones back then. There were no, there was no internet. There was no Twitter. There were not many spaces to advocate. There were not many spaces to infiltrate and be able to. I mean, even gender issues were a bit more complicated then than probably they may be now. But look at the scenario we have. We have the opportunity to, like, actually have this conversation. I'm pretty sure years back you couldn't even just talk about intimacy, love, or HIV openly like that on a discussion. So yeah, I really feel like there's certain milestones that have been made, but it's our responsibility as well as young women to really carry on the baton, but at the same time to pick up from that. Do you have like mentors that you really look up to, like a support structure of mentors that have really pushed and supported you in so many ways?
Yes, I do have quite amazing women who have carried me for years now. There's Leboga Mutsumi. She has actually been my sister for the longest time. There's Auntie Yvette, who's everybody's auntie. She's literally everyone's auntie.
Everyone's auntie.
Love her.
Nice.
Yes, there's literally so many women who have really carried me. And I think for me to actually grow into this activist advocate that I've grown to be also shows the amount of support that I got when I first got into this space. Because I mean, I was just an 18-year-old posting about HIV on Facebook. I didn't even know that was called activism or advocacy until those women said, you are actually an activist. So it's important. It's so important. Yeah, it's so important to have those women who say, listen, this is how far we have come, but we are willing now to pass the baton over to you to just keep on fighting, to carry on working. It's so important that we come together. As I mentioned earlier on, it's not a competition. We are not competing. We are literally not competing. We just need to come together and just say, we are women who are living with HIV and we deserve so much more out of this life because we're still alive and we fight so hard to remain alive. So we might just as well make sure that this life that we're living is, worthwhile. Let's try.
I like that. Yeah, you'll be like, with all the drama that you have to go through, reproductive health issues, and sexuality issues, gender issues, it is just a lot. Why can't we just get along and move this along together, But yeah, like you say, it's important. It's not about competing. It's about complementing each other. And I also really value, like the amazing, amazing mentors that are in our lives. And I feel like, part of them really wants to see us grow into, women 10 times more what they are, so that they can really see that transitional mentorship happening in our lives. And I think it's also important for us to have initiatives like that, even at community level. Just it doesn't even take a lot just to adopt a mentee. Have someone that you take through a certain journey, help them career wise, help them, social wise, be that kind of pillar of support and strength for them. When they're having boyfriend issues, everybody has, partner issues, whatever issues they are.
It's important that we also speak about those boyfriend issues and those sex issues because they are issues and we go through them. And I feel like without trying to make the conversation more focused on us, but genuinely, we really do struggle with those things.
Exactly.
You were mentioning women who don't even know how to act during sex because now you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm living with HIV and I don't know how I'm going to tackle this thing. It's important that we have those mentors where the spaces are so safe that you can literally say, I met this person that I like and I don't know how to go about navigating sex life because I'm living with HIV. Those are valid different struggles and challenges that we go through, and we have to just keep on speaking out on things like those.
Exactly, exactly. That is so true. And oftentimes, a lot of young people are afraid to speak about that because it's of the cultural backgrounds that we've
Yeah.
grown in, where you couldn't even talk about your period, where you couldn't even talk about menstruating, like, and you're just like so scared, like, oh my God, I'm going through this. Young people couldn't even talk about, adolescence and going through all those motions, and you like a guy and you don't know how to react, you're sweating all over, and then you feel like, oh, this is not normal. But
Yeah.
then again, I sometimes feel like you're saying those are the conversations we should be having with a lot of young women and girls because they are already going through a certain process of feeling like they don't fit in somehow, of which I believe that's not the way they should be thinking, but that's the
No.
reality on the ground. They feel they
Yeah.
don't fit in. And then when these things have to happen, these reproductive changes have to happen, these thoughts, these attractions that they feel, I think I'm attracted to a boy. No, I actually think I'm attracted to a girl. No, actually, I think I'm attracted to both. What do I
What
do?
is this? What is this? What is
What is
this?
this? What you talking about? So I think it's really important, so that they have like a safe space and they really understand that it's natural, it's normal, and the heart wants what it wants. You can't genderize that, if ever that's a word.
Mm.
I like the way you like raising your eyebrows. You have something to say. I'll leave this to you. You have something to say.
I mean, I do agree with everything that you said. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's completely normal to feel like you like a
Uh-huh.
boy, you like a girl, and you
Okay.
like them both.
And you like
And it's
them both.
completely normal for you as a baby girl to say, I actually like girls. And it's
Yeah,
normal for you as a boy to even say, I like
I like
boys.
boys.
It needs to be as normal as you as a boy saying, I like girls. It needs to be that
Mhm,
normal. Love is
mhm.
love, guys. And let's not try complicate issues. Love
Exactly,
is love.
exactly, exactly. And we need to normalize such conversations, no matter
Yeah.
how difficult. I think we need to be strategic and creative around that,
Mm,
especially when like we have spaces like this, it's love positive women, campaigns. That's where we get to be free and speak
yeah.
about these issues, because they all are entangled around love. We can't
Yes.
run away from it. It's either
It's the
love
month
going
of
out,
love,
love
baby.
coming in,
Let's talk
love all
about
around you, you know. So we
yeah.
need to discuss them no matter how much, because also, in as much as they have a social impact, they also have a certain level of health impacts, because when
Mm,
we don't speak openly about it, I will go out there and experiment, and
mm,
do things that are really not, in line with what I'm supposed to be doing. And then at the end of the day, I either expose myself to either violence, I expose myself, to a whole lot of STIs, I expose myself to stigma, discrimination, to hate and the likes, just because we are not having those conversations to reassure, young women that it's also okay to feel certain things that you're feeling. It's also okay to go through this, it's okay to like be cranky before your period and not want to talk to anyone. That's okay, like, yeah, we need stickers like, on my period, do not talk to me.
yes. Leave us
Exactly.
alone.
Exactly. So I think it's important because it contributes a lot to our agency, to the health choices that we then make, and to also relationships. And before I even forget, like, even the issue around, being in violent relationships and being in relationships that are toxic, it's because we are not having these open conversations.
Yeah.
I then
Yeah.
feel like, oh, because I'm a young woman, oh, because I'm a young girl living with HIV, if I get into a relationship, this is the best that I've got. So even if he hits me, even if
Yeah.
he, burns me,
Yeah.
or even if he throws me all over or does this to me, that's
I
okay,
must
because
just say,
I'm not going to get anyone else. But is that the case? Really now?
no. No, and I mean that's also one thing I speak about a lot, that we need to
Mhm.
learn and let go of this whole notion of, oh my goodness, he loved me so much or she loved me so much that um I don't think I'm ever going to find anyone else who will love me that way ever again. As
Mm-hmm.
people who are living with HIV, we tend to have those feelings, especially in like
Exactly.
seven relationships where you just feel like
Mm-hmm.
this person loved me with this huge flaw, because I don't even know why we see it as a flaw, but people do see it as a flaw.
Exactly.
I mean, you loved me with HIV. Now I literally owe my entire existence and I owe my entire
The
heart to
world
you.
around you,
Why? Why?
I
I'm glad
owe
that
you.
no, it's not a favor.
No.
It's not a
Yeah.
favor that you loved. You are not being done a favor. A person met you and they decided to love you because you're a human being. And I usually
Exactly.
just say that even if they chose to love you because maybe it came from a place of pity, that's their
Mm.
problem. As far
Mm.
as you're concerned, you are loved because you're an amazing person, and you must
Yes.
treat yourself like you are an amazing
Mm-hmm.
person who is worthy of love, who is worthy of being loved, who is worthy of just being in healthy and just mind blowing relationships, right?
Mm.
Don't
Mind
now start
blowing.
mind blowing, mind blowing, whichever sense you will look at it. Just
Oh my God, side. More girl.
yeah, no, it's important that we just constantly say, I am a person who's living with HIV, but you're not going to make
Mm-hmm.
me feel like I'm not human
Yeah.
enough or I'm not worthy, or that
Mm.
it was because of a certain thing that you chose me. You need
Mm.
like we need to stop being so thankful to people for loving us. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I think we need to learn, we need skills and tools to move away from toxic relationships because it really does
Yeah.
not, I don't know. And I think also even to the partners out there, to our partners out there, do not feel like because of this, I can treat them in this certain way. That is not leeway or a pass to just undermine a person or just abuse them mentally, physically, psychologically. That's not right. And I think we need to know our value. We need
Mm,
to know our worth, know your worth as a young woman. Like I
mm.
said, if you cannot be with yourself, how can you be with someone else? So if
Yeah.
you allow yourself to be abused and everything, it says a lot about your self-worth.
Yeah.
But then again, I also appreciate that it's a process. We are not
Yes.
there yet. We are not all there yet. It's really a process. I mean, I remember I went through a very abusive relationship, and it took me a while, even given who I was and the work that I did and people around me and the support structure around me. It took me a while to face it and really acknowledge and realize that this is toxic. I
Yeah.
need to get out.
Mm.
It's really a process. And so I learned to appreciate. But in that moment, I could have people and advise them and give them advice, and they'll do so well in
Yeah.
their lives, walk away from that. But I wouldn't. So I
Mm,
think it's
mm.
it's really important to understand that it is a process. And you need to internalize that process and really understand what you're going through. And are you really worth going through that? And what strides or steps do you need to take to get out of there? Because I always told people, if you're living a toxic relationship, it's not a one day thing. Like Sadie has packed their bags and they are gone. It doesn't work like that. You need to prepare yourself,
Mm,
to really
mhm.
prepare yourself mentally to say, I am living because I am choosing me. I am choosing
Yeah.
my kids. I am choosing my family. I am choosing this. I am choosing my work. So, yeah, I really, really do appreciate. But I mean, to young women out there, please reach out. If you ever need. I mean, our Facebook handles are there. Just reach out to Sadie or myself if you ever feel you're in a certain situation, and if you just want to have one of these love chats. Let's not just wait for February. Let's
Yeah.
constantly have them. But I mean, young women out there who are probably following this feed, just, reach out if there's something that you're going through and you really need to speak out about that, but you're not ready to speak out. You are
Mm.
ready to like speak out at that
Share with
particular time to that
someone.
particular person. Yeah, because it's important for people to understand. It's really not like you said when we started earlier about disclosure and about talking to someone. It's just not about talking to everybody, but
Yeah.
it's about making the first step to talk to someone who can hear you, who can understand you, be it through a letter. Your open letters, by the way, amazing.
Thank
You
you.
should really write me a letter as well, Saidy.
I am going to write you a
Write a letter about this love chat, girl. Show your
Okay.
love. Yes.
Okay.
But definitely, reach out and let us know what you're going through, because the whole idea why we are having platforms like this is to really normalize certain topics,
Mm,
just
mm,
break the ice over certain topics, and really also just impact some of that strength and empowerment and that courage that we kind of share. And I'm also really feeding off Sadie a lot. Your strength, you're like, your bubbliness is amazing, but it's about that. Sometimes it's about that, so you can really feed off that energy, you can feed off that empowerment, and really be able to be the best that you can be, like, in life. Yeah, so I'm really, amazed when I see where we're coming from, with all this
yeah.
activism and advocacy. Like, journey has been long.
It has been so long, guys. It
It
has
has
been so
been.
long.
It has
And
been.
yeah, and we still have a long way to go. We don't stop here.
Exactly.
This is not where
Yeah,
we are stopping. Just
true.
because we now found our own personal healing doesn't now mean that we have to stop. That's also one thing I had
Mm-hmm.
to teach
Mm-hmm.
myself, because as I mentioned earlier on, I just started this because I wanted to heal. And even after healing, because I had now cultivated this community of people who were living with HIV and who were on my inboxes daily, I couldn't stop. It stopped being just about me trying to seek my own personal healing, and now it had to be about,
Mm-hmm.
it's not being
Mm-hmm.
just about me. And that's just how activism works, and that's just how these spaces work. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to stop. The journey is still so long. HIV is not a thing of the past,
Mm-hmm.
like you guys like saying. It's not a thing
Exactly.
of the past. People are still getting infected with HIV.
Stigma is still there.
Yeah, so we shouldn't stop these things.
Yeah. I think that the fight still goes on. There is still a lot that is happening. Discrimination is still there in workplaces, in family, in life, in relationships. It's still there, those certain levels. So I think we really need to, because I feel like that's the one biggest thing that hinders a lot of progress in terms of, HIV, and in terms of people really being emancipated. It always has a bearing on that issue of stigma and discrimination. So that's why I feel so strongly about that, and really working towards that. And
Yeah,
I think, like you're saying, that the fight is still on, and we
yeah,
are happy about the progress and the strides, but the fight is still on. There is so much that people need to unlearn and learn. There is so much that people need to be informed on. There is so much that we could also learn,
also
so that's why
learn.
I really value partnerships. I value networking and linkages, because it also kind of open up your eyes to other possibilities as well. But the fight is still there. It's not a thing of the past. We can talk of ending AIDS, we can talk of this, but some of the issues, some of the social issues, they are still there. And we
Yeah,
need to see how best we address them. And we need to keep using our voices. We need to keep, using our brains. We need to keep using our energy to make sure that we are advocating, that we are empowering other young women and girls, who are living with HIV, and also to make sure that we're really building them up,
yeah,
giving them the strength to sorry, to actually be able to, to push and go further. I think
yeah,
it's really important. Yeah, it's really important. Yeah, but
yeah.
yeah, it's the journey has been nice. Yeah, it has been a beautiful journey. So
Yes.
Sadie, we have like 5 minutes to go on our love chat, which has been very
Yeah.
interesting. I just want to
Yeah.
give you this opportunity to, leave us with some words of wisdom or some spoken word. I wouldn't
All right.
mind being serenaded. It is the month of love, girl. Do not be stingy with that love. Do not be. But yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for having me. And guys, it is so important that we come together. It's so important that we love one another. It literally is the month of love. Let's just embrace ourselves. Let us love ourselves, and let us love ourselves so much that we are able to even share that love with other people. Let us come together. This is not a competition. HIV, living with HIV is already so hard on its own. The last thing we need is to now be fighting over mundane things like who is better at doing what and whatnot. Let's just come together and love each other. And I understand that we all have different journeys with regard to HIV, and I know that some of you guys are not as open as we are. And I need to remind you guys that you are also valid and your journeys are also valid. And we love you. I love you. And I'm sure Anna loves you guys because she's literally hosting these chairs for you guys. So she clearly loves you. So
exactly.
we love you. We care for you. And you guys are amazing people. And I call myself an HI victor. And I like saying that I'm not the HI victor in the world. We are all HI victors. And being HI victor goes beyond you just saying you want to completely disclose your HIV status. That's not even a thing. You can be HIV victor just by constantly choosing yourself,
Mm-hmm,
just by
mm-hmm,
constantly taking even when you're so scared of
mm-hmm,
things like ARVs and their side effects, and how to speak to your loved about sex or how to protect them and whatnot. You are an HI victor just by constantly choosing yourself and say, I
exactly.
am choosing to constantly be who I am despite everything. In a society that constantly reminds us that there's something
Mm-hmm.
completely wrong with, we choose ourselves
Yeah.
relentlessly, and I'm so proud of you. Thank
True,
you.
true. That's amazing, Sadie. And I love you too, girl. Thank you so much for having this interesting, intimate conversation. I know, girl. And it is the month of love. So we need to show love and to show ourselves love. So don't worry, even if you don't get some Valentine presents, buy yourself
Oh,
flowers. You
yeah,
know, you don't
yeah,
need anyone to buy you something, but presents would be good.
yeah,
but
yeah. You
but
can just
definitely
inbox us.
I know, right? You can just inbox us. But yeah, but definitely, I think we're trying to create a platform where we discuss openly these issues that are always the elephant in the room, especially when it comes to young women and especially when it comes to communities that we're also coming from. So we're happy to have had this opportunity. And for you, everyone who joined in, thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. I really hope we can, take these conversations further. Let's link up. Let's talk more about this. And I just want to say a big shout out to ICW, to Jessica, hashtag love positive women. Please be following that hashtag. A lot of things are going to be happening all over. And one of them is like what we've also actually done as the global network of people living with HIV. So a big shout out as well to to GNP Plus. Big shout out to, everyone who has been part of this process and who has enabled us to be here and be able to conversate and just have fun and share those loves. I mean, like, I feel like my Valentine has already been made. This is it. This is
Yeah.
it. So thank you so much, Sadie. Lot of love to you. Go, mwah. Take care of
Thank
yourself.
you
You're
so
beautiful.
much.
You're amazing. You are powerful. Keep going strong. Keep that black girl
Thank
magic going.
you so much.
Thank you so much, love.
Bye.
Bye.